And welcome back to Survivor Hot Takes, Coach Drew, Emily, and
That wasn't a really big introduction,
I'm
honestly.
sorry.
No, try it again. Try it again.
You can do it.
Okay, I maybe I should take that over. Ready? And welcome to another fantastic episode. You've all been waiting for it all week long. Have no idea when it's going to show up, but now we're here. It's me, Em, and followed by our co-host, Coach Drew.
All right, all right. Yeah, that's cool.
Don't you
Thank
feel
you.
the adrenaline seeping through your veins right now?
No. um, and we're to discuss last week's episode of Survivor 43 before tomorrow's episode of Survivor 43, the double boot episode, which is an episode that we've been kind of looking forward to all season. There have been multiple times on here where we have predicted that next week is going to be the double boot. They can't not go this long without doing a double boot. And they finally, I mean, it's the double boot that they have done since 41, but still a double boot nonetheless. So what were your thoughts? You know, last week I sat here and said they better stick the landing with this episode because it's kind of just going like this. Do you feel like
I it's exactly what I was hoping for. Honestly, this episode served and it left no crumbs. And that's exactly, don't give me that look. I'm right. But I think that I really like this episode because for a lot of it, it was very predictable. You know, whoever's at the bottom was being picked off, you know, with the except, I don't think there was a ton of big moves, quote unquote, you know, until this point. And we got two pretty big ones back to back. Cause not only, you know, I mean, Ryan, you know, some would argue wasn't a really big move, but he was part of that core 7, you know, which I think was really important because it completely shifted the trajectory of the fate of that core 7. And I think in turn is going to completely change the social dynamics of the game. So honestly, left no crumbs, having on the edge of my seat, especially because the 2 people in my fantasy league who are left were the 2 people who were supposed to be voted out. So it was a very exciting day for me.
Yeah. And the title of this episode of this podcast episode is just it's just an ironic statement. I just want to get this out of the way now. Soon as the episode ended, I knew exactly what a lot of Twitter was going to look like. I went on and, you know, it's everyone like, oh, both the black people, like, you know, this is, you know, it's this. And it's like, I don't feel like that. I feel like one of them, you know, got really arrogant-ish for most of the episode, and you kind of saw that one coming. The other one was Ryan, and yeah, I didn't see the Ryan one coming, but I don't, and it's doubly ironic because this is the same spot that Drea and the Drea Marianne thing happened last season.
Right. I never even thought about that until you brought that up to me a little bit ago. So
and it's unfortunate that it happened there because people are going to compare those 2 seasons now because of this one moment. But I don't think that it was anything other than game related. It kind of annoys me that people are bringing it into this because there have been moments in the past with other seasons, yes, but this ain't it.
Yeah, I think that again, it is a lot of it's kind of based on perception, but I think that's like the thing that I think that with James, I agree with you. I think that it was really he was getting pretty arrogant. He was a very obvious threat. He had a historically disadvantageous advantage, if that makes sense. And he didn't, and he was in the smaller numbers. And I think that at that point, he was way too cocky. I think with Ryan, that one, honestly, I know that people are saying that it's pretty predictable, you know, Jay, I see that you're also saying that, but I think that with Ryan, it was still a pretty interesting one for me because again, almost everyone has testified now to the fact that he's not a threat at all. And he was in the perfect position to be a GOAT carrying on until that final 3, you know? So for me, I feel like Cass had more social leverage, especially being at the right hand of Carla. So it shocked me more that he went home at the exact same time as James, if that makes sense.
No, you know? I definitely understand it. And I would say that, yeah, I do feel like there are other people that have higher threat levels than Ryan did in that moment.
Right.
But who do you think takes, you know, you just saying Ryan was in this perfect spot to put himself in a GOAT type situation.
Yeah.
Who do you think takes a spot now? Because I think it's Gabler, but
Don't you? Well, okay. I would say Gabler, and I think that I do agree with you, but I do think that he could actually be in a good spot for second place too, because he has the physicality threat now that he has one individual immunity challenge in his pocket.
everyone has
And
an immunity challenge this season.
no, he doesn't. Nuh-uh. Nuh-uh.
Basically everyone has one.
Oh, nuh-uh. And then, like, on top of that, like, he's in a really good social spot. We saw that cute little moment with him broing out with Cody, and I thought that really helped to kind of solidify his social standing and his trust. And he made the first, like, big move of the merge, by, like, completely airing out all of Ellie's, like, dirty laundry.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't know if he would be exactly I think that honestly, if I had to say it, I don't want this to come off as slander, but like Cass right now is in a spot where she could be in a spot where she could be the GOAT. But that's just because she hasn't made a huge move yet. I think that the only move that like she wants to put like a feather in her cap over is Ryan, but that's not a big move. If she can kind of find a way to kind of summon a few other people together to help navigate and create another a huge move to get out a big social threat, then she'll be in a good spot to win. So that's kind of what I'm thinking.
Oh, and you don't really. This is not the big moves era anymore. Like it really isn't. Like you can get away with one. And I have a whole different opinion on the big moves era and how most of the people that were making the big moves still didn't win. But that's neither here nor there. Here, you really don't have to make the biggest moves, period, in order to win now. I do feel like it is more of a social as it should be. It is more of a social thing more than anything else. And so I do feel like Cass is still pretty much in a good spot moving forward. I do think that no matter who she sits next to, she probably gets at least second. I don't think there's any way that she gets shut out unless it's okay, maybe not, because I feel like Carla, Jesse, and Owen, the three of them,
those are kind of the big three in my opinion.
I feel like Carla, Jesse, and Owen. So you remove them, Cass could beat the other five?
Why?
4.
Yeah. What made you not put Cody in the big three?
I like Cody, and I'm enjoying him, and he's definitely playing the game and everything. But like, I don't know. It's just every week it's like, all right, yeah, and Cody was involved too. Oh, okay, yeah, Cody was involved. Cody's getting screen time. He's doing all these things, but it's just in my head. It's like, oh, Cody's not winning though, right?
I think that we saw like a little more of his strategy at the start, and it's kind of like fizzled out. Like whenever he was doing like the tribe raid, that was really, really cool. And that's whenever you were really able to see like his salesman tactics. But like we haven't really seen as much like social manipulation or like strategy, with the exception of like wanting to work with Cass to take out Ryan, if that makes sense. So I think I agree with you. I was just wondering why you didn't add Cody in there.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly think that anyone can make a case at any point. That we saw that. I mean, Marianne didn't have to make much of a case, but she did anyway, and it was amazing. But I do feel like the game's not over until you sit in the final three and you talk. So, me saying, and I hate the phrase GOAT. I can't believe I've been using it a lot more lately, and I hate myself for it.
Can you believe
just because you're a perceived GOAT does not mean much of anything, because there have been plenty of seasons where the perceived GOAT has won, and people get pissy about it on the internet. But it's like until you're in that moment, until you make the Super Bowl, whatever, and perform, that's when that's all that really matters. All right, and I try to compare that to football. The New York Giants from 2007 or 8, they went to Super Bowl and played against the 16-0 New England Patriots. Everyone thought the Patriots were going to wipe the floor with them because they hadn't lost all season. The Giants won. All right, and because until you play the game, until you get to that last part, none of the shit actually matters, if that makes sense.
And like the disadvantages or the things that kind of like tend to put your back up against a wall, if we're going to continue to talk about football, like, if your record shows that you got down, like you were knocked down 6 times and got up 7, right? Those 6 times made you more prepared for that, for that last time, for that final ring, So I think that that's kind of the big, I mean, the big moves, whenever I say that, like, I don't always mean like the big, like catastrophic things, but it's like, definition of big moves is completely objective, whether it's like, like working to stay under the radar is a legitimate big move, especially whenever you're in a point where there's nowhere to hide, So I don't at all want to I don't want to at all diminish Cass's game, because I still think that it's very good. I just want to see more of like the resume being built, if that makes sense.
Oh God, the resume.
I know I had to use it because I knew it was going to make you mad. Today the theme is making Andrew mad. It's really fun.
So we get the tribe split. The merged tribe split. We know there's going to be 2 people going home. It was said so last week. What did you think of these tribe dynamics as they are presented to us before, immunity happens and all that?
Yeah.
How are you thinking?
As soon as I saw Owen and James on the same tribe, I was like, oh God, like this is Owen's swan song, like I thought that he was completely toast. But besides that, I thought that it was pretty even. I thought that and I also thought like Carla and James, it shocked me on that same like tribe level, shocked me that she didn't stay loyal to him all the way to the end. I know that I'm kind of jumping the gun here, but like, I really thought that they would stay like a core 2 at least till the final, like 6 or 5,
Yeah.
So shooketh me. What about you? What'd you think?
I really didn't have any big thoughts on it. I was just more, I obviously I was started thinking about who's going to win the challenge, and we get to it, and it's actually, I mean, I know we've seen variants of this challenge before, or just the same challenge ish.
I like those kind of challenges. I like them.
But I what's the word? It kept me invested, and I don't really like the challenges on the show as the seasons progress, because they've become kind of repetitive.
Sure.
And I was really like invested in watching this. I'm at the bar playing trivia, and I'm trying to scribble down an answer while staring at the TV, because I'm actually that invested in what's happening with this challenge. Once it ends, I don't think there's any writing on the wall. I think that, the game is still fluid up to that point that you really don't know who's going to go home. Sure. Now you see who production is showing are possibilities. When Carla wins.
Carla won. Mm-hmm.
Who celebrates? Oh, James celebrates for her, right?
Yeah, which is like.
What did you think? Yeah, what did you think of that?
Well, honestly, Carla winning was like a queen moment, like especially because she had all those stitches right on her finger. I'm shocked that she was able to not just stay on the whole time, but to be able to handle that kind of pressure. I thought that also kind of spoke to James' cockiness and being sure that, his ally was going to make it. And I also feel like that also put a huge target on both his and Carla's back, like, I mean, like that make like he wasn't rooting for anyone else whenever they made it like far, or didn't clap for anyone else whenever they made it far. Right. Am I right by saying that? Like that helps to kind of show, like, and literally shouting to the rest of the tribe that like, hey, we're really tight and we're going to go very far together. I think that maybe that's one of the reasons that Carla didn't tell him about the plan that Sammy told her about.
And do you feel like Carla now playing ball basically and getting rid of James helps her even more? Because right now, Carla's definitely, she's always been in a good spot. For most of the season, she's been in a good spot. Yeah. And right when she could potentially end up in a bad spot with James praising her, she plays ball and orchestrates not orchestrates, but is a part of the plan to get rid of him. Do you feel like that all of a sudden? No.
I don't know. Because the more I'm thinking about, sorry, I feel like I always cut you off. I really don't mean to. I just get so excited.
Oh my gosh,
I don't know. Because the more that I'm thinking about it while you're talking, I don't know if it was a great move or a not so great move. Like we talk about like how everyone's thinking about who their meat shield is. Like Cody is absolutely Jesse's meat shield. We saw that in the comments a little bit earlier. And I feel like in some ways, James was Carla's, just because he was just so vocal and like so cocky. And Carla was the one kind of like pulling the strings, on his little, like, is it marionette? Is that what they're called? Yeah. Is that what they're called? Yeah, that's what they're called. But like, I feel like now, it helped to kind of create that divide. And I don't think that she would have had as many opportunities to take him out to help to kind of divide that gameplay. Right. But on the same token, now I don't know, like, everyone wants to work with her, which I think that that's going to hopefully catch up to these people pretty soon, that like, she's playing the game and she's playing it really hard,
Yeah.
What do you think? Do you think there was a smart move?
No, I think that Carla will be. I think Carla will be fine. Fine just basically means survives the next episode. From there, I don't know. But you mentioned James being vocal, and I thought that was a perfect segue to James and Owen by the well.
Oh my god!
Now, even though these two conversations are totally different, and I'm not just trying to shoehorn it in because of who I'm going to talk about in a second. But as soon as they get to the well together, the first thing that popped in my head was Hannah and Zeke by the well and Millennials versus Gen X, where Zeke's like, Hannah, you're like, we're good together, right? Like, you're not telling David all of this, right? And Hannah looks up at the sky. She's trying to avoid it. I don't know why that popped in my head, but it's probably just because there are two people by a well. But we have Owen and James by the well, and James is not even trying to hide the fact that, hey man, it's probably you. It doesn't straight up say it, but he doesn't hide it either.
Right.
Do you think this is where he loses? Do you think in this moment is where James it's done?
I think it's a combo of a few things. I think that like Owen, there's a lot of debate on this between like Rob Has a Podcast and like Survivor Buffs and a few other ones. Or no buffs, not Survivor Buffs is us. But like it's kind of similar. But there's a kind of like a huge debate with this. With like, I think that the first piece was Owen's theatrics. I think that it was real, like his feelings were completely real, and they were, he was very upset that he's continuing to be on the bottom, and that's like just out of frustration for this long. But I think that it also kind of helped to kind of pin, like the second they got home and the second that Owen was getting mad about it, that was the beginning of James' swan song, because James has already planted, even from the start, whenever he was telling Owen last episode, you're safe, like don't drop. And he knew that he wasn't, like,
vote for this person. Like, don't worry, just vote for this person.
Right. And like, I mean, after a while, I mean, like James had a point that like Owen was voting for him too, but like at the end of the day, it's like he like the way like Owen's reaction helped to kind of assimilate like a bigger group of people to recognize that James was like at the top tier of the game. Does that make sense?
No, it makes sense. And, you touched on it earlier about him having the advantage, and that probably, I mean, obviously played a big role in it too.
Sure.
But I know that they haven't seen all of 43 yet. So they only have 41 and 42 to work off of. You have to imagine that they at least assume, wait a minute. They have to at least assume that 43s didn't get played right either, right?
They at least know at this point that it is 100% failure rate. Like, I think so. Like because they at least know they filmed. They must have. They definitely saw at least the 41s didn't work. I think that they got to the final 5. So if they got to the final 5,
they would know that it did. Yeah, it once again didn't work.
Yeah, absolutely.
In which case, I don't see that. I understand that advantages mean threats, but you gotta play the stats a little bit here and say, hey, you know what? I know he has this advantage. I know that he knows most of our advantages here. I still think that his advantage means less than ours, if that makes sense. Now, I'm not playing with them, and I can't say where my paranoia is leading my mind. It's just, me, couch quarterbacking. If I know that the knowledge is power it's just kind of there at this point, I'm probably looking for other reasons to vote someone out, in which case Owen saying all that other stuff, it's like, okay, yeah, there's a reason right there. Let's go.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's be rid of him.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. I just think that like at this point, another piece is just like how incredible Noelle was with like just creating this brilliant blindside. Like I've never seen such an incredible blindside that it was almost ruined. I think like with the steal vote advantage. I think that for me, that was really cool. It's not the most amazing thing, but I think that
Okay,
like with the steal a vote, have you ever seen something that was that incredible, like off the top of your head?
last season.
Oh, okay. Well, never mind. Well, I thought it was really cool because you not only did you use it as like a defensive maneuver, but you also were able to like help try to keep him confident so he didn't play one of his big advantages. It was literally the biggest
Yeah.
threat in the entire game. So like I feel like honestly, like this was like a really, really big piece for Noelle because she was not in the 7 either. Someone else also mentioned, wasn't it James and Owen who agreed to give her that steal a vote, like whenever they went on like pretend Ship Wheel Island? Did you know that?
I believe so, yeah.
Isn't that crazy? How brilliant is that?
What do you call it again?
Is it Ship Wheel? What's it called?
Pretend ship wheel.
Pretend Ship Wheel Island.
Um, so I mean, speaking of Noelle, with the quote of the episode, I was telling you before we went live. As soon as it happened, I go on Twitter and everyone is trying to tweet it out first, and they're all commenting on each other's, saying, "Oh yeah, I just tweeted this out." It's like, yeah, I'm sure they saw. Um, I really liked that entire segment of the show, of this episode, is
Sure.
everything happening within their small group. James thinking it's a lock, Owen and James at the well, Noelle sitting in the middle, everyone just kind of observing. I think that was the highlight of the episode for me. The tribals were fun and fine, but I feel like, and I can honestly sit here and tell you, besides looking it up, I couldn't remember anything else that happened on the other fives, as far as strategizing was concerned.
Sure.
I couldn't tell you anything before looking it up.
Yeah, I know. I completely agree with you, and I think that that's like that was kind of like the feather in the cap as well of just like the editor. I think it was just brilliant. I think that like each piece added like a little bit of like light comedy and a little bit of excellent like, but it was piecing together like pieces of that strategy until you kind of got that big blow. So I was into it.
Yeah. And so here we are now, final 8.
Mm-hmm.
And my winner picks are long since gone. You have both of yours still.
As a matter of fact, Andrew, I do. Right now, Cass was my elected winner pick at the very start. And underneath her, which I'm really glad because I actually was going to choose Ellie, and I'm like, whew. And then my power player Owen is still in. And Ellie was one of my other power players, so she's out. But I mean, 2 out of 3 is not bad for the final 8.
Well, and so I've had Ellie, Lindsay, and now James. I picked James last week after my other winner pick went. So now I have to pick a new one, and I'm gonna go with Jesse.
Are you
Let's
going
go
with
with
Jesse? Cool.
No,
Why
no, no.
Jesse? Why Jesse?
I don't know. It's Jesse now. So I can't wait for him to go tomorrow. But no, now that we're at final 8, what are we seeing happening? I feel like the game reshuffles again now because
Yes.
the power group has finally decided to start taking out each other.
Yeah.
The game reshuffles again. Where are we going with this?
Well, I think this is going to be a game now of just perception, and utilizing how the people they perceive at the bottom to their best advantage, whoever they are. So like if I had to guess, I would say that we're going to see a lot more Gabler being utilized to help vote out a few people. I also think that people presume that Cass is at the bottom, which I've mentioned in the past, which isn't always reality, So I think that could also be another piece. Or Carla. I think that maybe some people also presume that Carla might be at the bottom as well because she hasn't gotten any votes yet, which blows my mind, with an idol and with her being everyone's number 1. So I think we're going to see a lot of the dynamics of the people perceived at the bottom to be getting out like the bigger threats. So
who do you perceive are being the bigger threats right now?
Cody, I think, is a big one. I think that just because he's so loud, like he's like in everyone's face, Jesse. I think honestly it might be between like just those two this time, you know? Maybe Noelle as well after that big move with James. Cuz she took
Okay.
ownership of it, you know?
Yeah, and I will say that it's kind of ironic because I feel like we've only mentioned this person once the entire time.
Sammy.
Sammy.
I keep
One thing,
forgetting about
Sam,
him.
and it's crazy because like Sammy is doing things, and everyone likes Sammy, and
He's
Sammy gets
fine.
screen time.
Yeah.
But
He
we talked about him once. I think they talked about him more in the chat than we have here.
He
Um,
almost ruined that entire blindside for James, and I was like screaming about it. He keeps saying he wants to make a big move, and I haven't seen anything. So like, just yeah, this is just again like very again just based on the viewer's perception. So I'm hoping that we're gonna see some more from him like soon, like something that'll help to kind of divide him from everyone else. But he also might do something because he's been so middle grounded. He might do something that'll slip up and get him voted out.
I think that him and Gabler are still good, and I feel like him and Owen are probably still good.
I think they're okay. Yeah, I think they're okay.
But besides that, I'm really looking. I think that this could be an episode that because we're now getting into the end game. I do feel like we could be leading towards something really fun, whether it's a blind side or a few blind sides, maybe even just a crazy final 4 or 5. I think that this episode definitely set the table for something really good, and it was also just a really good episode all on its own.
Do you think someone's going to play an idol this week?
I feel like this is another thing that we've said a lot this season. Like, oh yeah, the idol's definitely coming out.
I know. Well, like they only have a few more times to use it, so I'm like, oh, like
yeah,
use it
yeah, sure. I think that idol's going to come out this week.
Okay, fine.
At this point, all of our guesswork, or most of our guesswork, specifically on my end, has not worked out too well. Except for me thinking that this past episode is going to be really good, or hoping that would be really good.
I know. I'm glad that we were right because that was like I think that was kind of the key for the whole season. It was good.
Yeah. But any final thoughts?
Honestly, I'm just really, really, really excited to see this episode to kind of see like how the cards fall after that tribal. And I don't know. I think that it's gonna continue to build up from here. I'm gonna make that prediction. What about you?
I think that we're going to get a few episodes in a row of blindsides. I don't think that it's going to be just 7-1, 6-1, 5.
Not anymore.
I definitely think that people are going to be like,
everyone has their own agenda now and they're ready to play it.
Well, I hope they do. I hope that they are able to frame it, where it's good television, but they also don't make it so predictable that it's like, that the viewing audience is like, oh, I hate this season because everything is so predictable. It's like,
Right.
These fans, you can't win with these fans. You can't win with them.
You're such a grumpy old man.
Speaking as a fan, you can't win with these people. But yes, we will be back after Thanksgiving break. Let's see.
Are you excited for Thanksgiving? Do you have any big plans?
No.
Oh, okay.
I do not. I do not.
Want to come to my house?
No.
Okay, I'll see you in 8 hours.
Okay. Thank you all for continuing to tune in. I guess we'll see you guys on the other side.
Bye, guys.